nice to have you with us this evening. I'm Brian Garman, head of school at Sidwell Friends, and it's an honor that you've all come out for what I promises to be a really extraordinary evening. Could we begin, please, after the manner of friends, with a moment of shared silence? Thank you. This is the 43rd time we've gathered for this event. Well, there were a couple of years there we didn't gather physically, but we were online. And it's hard to believe. I see you, Barton, shaking your head. 43rd time. It is amazing. Over 40 artists have been part of this great tradition, which is really a centerpiece of the art program here at Sidwell Friends. Speaking of that, I'd like to thank Aaron Brophy, middle school art teacher, and the curator of the gallery for his tremendous work. If we could give Aaron a round of applause, please. This is one of those nights that serves as kind of a Sidwell Friends family reunion, too. And so there's one person here who hasn't been part of the reunion for a while, but is back on campus, a teacher, a really legendary teacher who was with us for 29 years, Percy Martin, also a renowned printmaker, a renowned artist. Percy, where are you? I saw you come in. Where are you? Percy had a space back here, his art room was back here, and he was kind of the guru of Sidwell Friends. It was a beautiful place where students did the most creative things, and Percy was there. Here he is, over here in the corner. There, give us a wave, Percy. Yeah, there he is. He nurtured so many people, and if you were to go into my office, you would see two Percy Martins hanging on my wall. He left such a tremendous impact on the school, so thank you. So a little bit about the lecture and the family that was so generous to establish it. Lee Rubenstein, together with his children, Beth Rubenstein from the class of 1977, Barton from the class of 1981, and Amy Rubenstein, class of 1984, are the benefactors of the Darrell Reich Rubenstein Guest Artist Program to honor the memory of Lee's late wife, Darrell. Darrell was passionate about the arts and curated many exhibits at Sidwell Friends and other galleries and museums, including Max Weber, prints and color variations at the Smithsonian Institution. Darrell also wrote many articles for art magazines. Her collection of Max Weber's graphic prints was published by the University of Chicago's press and later reissued in digital format. The Darrell Reich Rubenstein Guest Artist Program was established in 1981, and as I mentioned, since its inception, more than 40 really remarkable artists have not only spoken to the public in this forum, but also spend a day with our students each year, and I know our students are looking forward to that tomorrow. So, Aaron, thank you for coordinating all of that, and we're very grateful to our guest artist, Maria, for doing that as well. I get to introduce a really wonderful curator and scholar who is part of the Sidwell Friends community, has been a parent here for many years. I'm going to read a really wonderful biography filled with accomplishments, but know that the great accomplishment is that she is a Sidwell Friends parent. We're very proud of that. Dorothy Moss is the founding director of the Hong Lu Estate. From 2011 to 2023, Dorothy held the position of curator of painting and sculpture at the Smithsonian Institution's National Portrait Gallery. During her tenure at the Smithsonian, she was a leader of the Smithsonian American Women's History Initiative, serving as coordinating curator of the initiative from 2018 to 2021. In 2015, Dorothy initiated the National Portrait Gallery's first performance art series, Identify, where she commissioned new performances by renowned artists, including tonight's artist. From 2013 to 2019, Dorothy directed the Portrait Gallery's triennial Outland Bootcheaver Portrait Competition and actually brought it here one year. We had a wonderful lecture from the artists who were participating in that competition. As curator of painting and sculpture, she oversaw prominent commissions of portraits of women subjects by women artists, including Amy Sherald's portrait of Michelle Obama and Karen Sanders' portrait of Maya Lin, among others. She recently co-authored the Obama Portraits, published by Princeton University Press in 2020, and authored the book Hong Lu, Portraits of Promised Lands, published by Yale University Press in 2021. Dorothy received the Smithsonian Secretary's Prize for Excellence for the latter book. She earned her BA from Smith College, her MA in art from Williams College, and a PhD in art history from the University of Delaware. We're so lucky to have her with us this evening. I'm grateful for everything she's done to bring wonderful art events to Sidwell Friends. I am always grateful for the great curation that she did at the Portrait Gallery. There was something going on there, even when there wasn't supposed to be a kind of activist streak maybe at that gallery. There might have been some things happening that not everyone noticed. I would attribute a lot of that to the imagination of Dorothy Moss. Dorothy, it's great to have you with us here this evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Brian. As an educator who is also a historian and a former Smithsonian Fellow, your deep commitment to engaging with the museums around us and the artists within our community and beyond enriches the Sidwell Friends community exponentially. Also, as a former history teacher, I know you are proud to see your students making good trouble at the Smithsonian, including Charlotte Ickes, who's here tonight, one of your students from the class of 2004, who wrote a text to me and said, "Bring Brian, he'll love it. There's Whitman all over the new Felix Gonzalez Torres exhibition," which she just curated and opened. I highly recommend it. Please go see it. It's a brilliant exhibition. I am honored, and I'm, of course, most grateful to the Rubenstein family for generously supporting artists and for providing such inspiring and truly unparalleled opportunities for Sidwell students to interact with groundbreaking artists such as Magda in the classroom and outside the classroom. Thank you especially to Lee and Trina Rubenstein. I am deeply honored to introduce María Magdalena Campos-Pons tonight. Her journey as an artist, teacher, and activist has taken her from Cuba through the United States with autobiographical compositions that honor her Nigerian ancestors and Chinese ancestors while also facing our shared future. Magda is a 2023 MacArthur Genius whose critically acclaimed retrospective, Behold, is now on view at the Frist Art Museum in Nashville. This powerful retrospective opened at the Brooklyn Museum in September 2023, traveled to the Nasher Museum of Art at Duke University, and will make its final stop at the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, opening February 10th. I highly encourage you to see it and to read the magnificent exhibition catalog published by the Getty. She is also working on multiple projects, including in a church, San Fedele in Milan, Italy, and she has a project opening at the Tate Modern this spring in London. Her contributions to the global art world are extensive and multidimensional, including her ongoing program, Engine for Art, Democracy, and Justice. And I'm going to open the computer. I think I closed it and lost the image. 2014, 2015, as curator of painting and sculpture at the National Portrait Gallery, I had the privilege of working with Magda, thank you, on a commissioned performance for the museum. My children, who you see on the floor, now sophomore and senior in high school, were both in lower school at Sidwell at that time, and they witnessed and participated in the performance titled Identified, along with many other young people. In this profound multimedia work, Magda enlisted more than 50 participants, including jazz musicians, poets, and Duke Ellington School drama students, to activate the museum spaces in both a solemn and joyful meditation on the reverberations of abolition and the urgency of current discourses on racial intolerance. She also reminded us of the closeness of history and of President Lincoln's very presence in that building. Through procession, spoken word, and staged vignettes in the galleries, Magda turned the museum spaces into a canvas where she activated and exposed buried histories, hidden within the collection and the walls of the historic building, as if she was summoning ghosts. My children will never forget witnessing the transformation of the museum and the collection as they watched various vignettes unfold. Speaking to you tonight as a mother and a Sidwell parent, I am deeply moved to reflect on the way Magda shaped my children's understanding of history. My son wants to major in history in college. She offers profound and lasting opportunities for the voices of future generations to be lifted in each of her performances, including in her most recent commissioned performances, When We Gathered. A video of aspect of that performance is on view outside, commissioned by the National Gallery of Art in 2022, and Procession of Angels for Radical Love and Unity in September 2024, commissioned by Madison Square Park Conservancy in partnership with Harlem Art Park. As an artist and educator, a mother, a sister, a daughter, she connects one generation to the next, amplifying the voices of the powerless and lifting the youth who carry her messages forward. Her timing tonight on the eve of a historic election is intentional. We need her more than ever and are grateful for her presence among us and for her engagement with the students tomorrow. Thank you, Magda.
Thank you. Ancestors, guide me tonight with a few words of truth and with an open heart. Guide me tonight not only to speak my words, but to listen the word of my audience. I am extremely proud to be here. I am extremely grateful to be here. For the people in the room that didn't hear what I said first, I called my ancestors to guide me tonight to speak some truth and to speak with clarity, and not to only focus in the words that I'm going to share with you, but to listen to the questions that you're going to have for me. I structured this conversation not as a lecture of a presentation, but precisely a conversation. I'm going to start to asking every one of you to take a deep breath. And release it. And I'm going to use that simple performativity of the body to remind all of us in the room, the living and the spirits, that that is an equalizer. Doesn't matter our age, our class, our color, our circumstances. We came with one breath, and when there is the time, we take one last and we turn into another materiality. I want to thank the Rubenstein family for giving me this opportunity, for also to inviting me, as I know now, to many other artists to be here honoring the work of another woman who put her heart, her soul, and her well-being to serve, preserve, and propel art. I want to bow to that. I want to honor that. I want to thank all the administration of the Sidewalk School for bringing me into this program. And I want to celebrate personally the vision, the courage of Dorothy for everything that she's doing now and what she has done before, not only in my behalf, but in behalf of so many artists that are my peers and inspiration. I have been moved from the few hours that I have been in this institution, the warmth, the kindness, the dedication, the care. I want to highlight Aaron from picking me in the airport and to taking care of everything, every single detail, making sure that I have water, which is such an important thing. I am especially happy to be in this institution because this is an institution dedicated to form future generations. Artists like myself, we are often invited to speak in museums, galleries, other places, but not in an education place for grade 1 to grade 12. I am placing particular attention to that group. I call it, in my vernacular saying, the future, but also because they are holders of truth. That is the age in which nobody lies. That is the age in which people confront themselves as they are and how they see, without yet the limitations that they're going to encounter later. And I am particularly interested that in this conversation, I have the privilege to speak to the people that support those youngsters, the parents, the grandparents, sisters, brothers, friends, all of that. Because that is the generation to learn from. That is the generation that carry knowledge, ideas of fundamental importance. And I have dedicated in the last few years of my work to pay attention to these two. Looking the very young in relation with the people with certain maturity, you know? And that could be 3 decades of life, or 4, or keep counting, all the way that you go. So that is very, very special to have the opportunity to be in the context in which these two generations find themselves all the time. These are complex times. These moments are fragile moments everywhere in our planet. But I think that the fragility of the moment is because the potentiality of the moment. It's almost like before a big storm, the rain pass and the air have a particular smell, and then seems clear through a struggle, and we have a new beginning. I think of that as I think the position of art and artists today, as I think the potentiality of science today. These are issues that are discussed in the classroom in this institution. It's a moment of reckoning. It's a moment of great opportunity. And of course, it implied to a moment of unknown. We artists, the people that feel with every cell in their body, not wanted to, but inevitable. The curse of being an artist is that we feel so much, is that we see more than we want. And if we are brave enough, we dare to task it, and we dare to tell. I am fortunately or unfortunately in that group. And I think that is our responsibility to see it, to try to grasp it, and to tell, no knowing. What an incredible, beautiful moment of the opportunity to be standing in a place in the unknown could be defined by our actions. What is not known could be defined by what we do, who we call, who we claim, and what sins we align with. So, in 2019, I decided to start a project in the city that I was born in Cuba, city of Matanzas, few kilometers away from Havana. And I want to just read very briefly what was in my mind when I launched this program, Ríos Intermitentes. And we could have image. Ríos Intermitentes consider the artistic process as a tool to find solutions to the complexities of everyday life. It focuses on the local and its interaction with individuals who, through collaboration and creativity, show the possible direction to development and growth. Ríos Intermitentes understand the creative process as a healing exercise. Consider the artistic work in a direct relationship as a poetical and a practical response to the needs and urge of the present moment. At Ríos Intermitentes, we use art as a tool that looks at and makes the city a laboratory. Each Matancero, this tiny little city east of Havana, is a participant in the process. Each Matancero has a voice in the process. We abandon the non-colonialist language to find the language that gives us back the ability to dream. Ríos Intermitentes propose to think of Matanzas from the inside and develop a space where social affection surpass social aversion. We prioritize the focus on solutions needed now and restoring the city and its spirit. What you saw in the few images was a very small area in a very dilapidated part of the city, as many areas of Cuba are in decay, in the repairs, in abandonment. And what we're trying to do there with local and international artists is to bring a sort of a metaphor of how do we embrace joy and how do we embrace an opportunity for a future in a place in which circumstances are so limited. So the piece that was before was by a Guatemalan artist, Guillermo Santanilla, in collaboration with Regina Jose Galindo. And this is an image of the street of Matanzas. At this particular moment in Matanzas is no electricity, no food, no water, and very little hope. In 2019, when I started that project, in Matanzas was still no much electricity, no water, no food, and no hope. But this project have brought so much potentiality for people to believe that they could have a day ahead that is different, that they could have a potentiality to make the city livable again, to make the city a place in which they could have aspiration taking place again. And then I asked to myself, what is the materials of art making? And the materials of art making that we propose here is this: children working in ideas of how they see themselves. So the image of the puppet that you see before with the children dancing, they are building here in an atelier that we create in Matanzas with recycled material, There is no a place in which you could go to a store and buy bleak art materials or a plaza materials. There is no art store for material. So you work with what is left, you work with recycle, you work with an incredible pushing and really imagine new possibilities. This is done, all this project, with children from grades 1 to 12. We started this project in 2019, and now we have numerous group of kids who the only thing that they expecting in Matanzas is when is Rios intermitente again, because it bring light, it bring happiness, and it bring the potential to believe and to imagine and to dream. Art at its best, at his very best, allowed that to happen. This is a project by a Costa Rican artist, and what he was doing here with the students, and I'm going to come back, this is a group of elderly that met for interview and to talk about the stories that they know from the past, and we are trying with an artist from Argentina to make sure that that collection of knowledge and that collection of ideas and stories don't disappear. Sometimes people look tired, sometimes people are exhausted, but they get together to collect information and to continue building language and new materiality of art, making art where and how. This is Matanzas, in el río La Yumurí, in el barrio La Marina. Ofarri is an artist that born and grow in La Marina. His studio is very tiny. He founded this in this little park and a small school that we call in La Escuelita, in which a group of young students, 13 of them, meet every single day to make art. This is Matanzas, no much light, no much energy, falling apart. And Rios Intermitente, as an art project, is determined to take a city that is limping, that is hurting, that is in a need of repair, to the next level of imagination and creativity. I wanted to show this image because it's about making art in another corner of planet Earth in which it's hurting. And for the future, I want to introduce you to this new piece, which is a piece with a little bit of melancholy, reflection, and hope for our small planet Earth. It's 7 minutes, and then we open for a conversation.
was amazing. Wow. I would love to know more about the process. Those are individual paintings?
Oh, that all the secrets. No, but so before I answer just direct the question, I want to say that I wanted to kind of introduce this particular audience. So work that I have been doing, focusing and putting attention to children and to mature population. And I'm going to come back to that because that is in the center of my inquiry, that is in the center of my preoccupations, that is in the center of ideas that I think that are fundamental if we have aspiration to move forward in a much more healthy society in a planetary way. I am not only interested in the well-being of my experience living in a developed society, in a rich society. I am very concerned as well as my fellow humans worldwide. And some of the privilege, as well as an artist, is to travel, is to see, is to witness. And it's like the old saying, you can know unsee what you have seen. You can know hear what you are here. You can know witness what you have been witness. So I emphasize again how important was for me to take this invitation to be here, a temple of education of younger generation in which the hand of the future of this beautiful planet that I tried to imagine with watercolor image is. So for me to contrast this project made in Matanzas, Cuba, a very, very needed of care, attention, love, and justice place. And then the potentiality of come and imagine with all the possibilities of new technologies, etc., what we could represent. I wanted to bring it this year. This is the first time that I show in the beginning in the United States. It's the very first time that is presented to an audience. It's a project in progress. It's the very first part of a large narrative. And it's about, as we have access to new technologies, new methodologies of imagining and making art, and we could narrate our story as human, but also an opportunity to a compelled call that nothing that we develop that is extraordinary and beautiful and rich is more beautiful and rich and extraordinary than care for fellow humans. That for me is fundamental, and I am committed in the center of my core to honor that. And to any place that I could speak and talk and speak the truth, that is what I'm going to talk. I have, 40 years of artwork to show, but I wanted to show those two scenes where we could go with the opportunities that we have, and how could we rectify a history of violence. Because when we abandon other humans, it's violence. It's soft violence, but it's not different. It's still that. And from my position of knowledge and from my position of the privilege of an artist who could see, who could sense, I refuse not to say that. As when I was doing with Kamal Malak, who is the composer, and the piece is fundamental, a guitar tone, very, very simple. When I met Kamal, I need to say this, I told him that my favorite composer, the guy that I was dreaming, that I wanted to meet, was a very obscure some way, but magnificent composer, which name is Arbopar. And Arbopar has a piece that is just like one single note, over and over and over and over. Glorious. So in some way there is a little bit of thinking back to how you can make a sonic environment. Every single one of the images that you see in the last piece is a watercolor. I am working with watercolor every day, all the time, in preparation to make a fresco in a very old church in the heart of Milan. And when I received a letter, and in the pandemic, as I was in my bed alone and sad, I'm worried that I'm going to survive, and my son. And I received this email from somebody that I never heard about, Father Andrea del Asta. And he has written to me a letter about my work, that the only thing that I could do was cry in bed for a long time. And then I was thinking, a father writing to me, the end is near. No? Because it was so unexpected. But it was, and then he's inviting me, come to visit the church, come to see it, and sing together. So in the beginning, it's really one of my reflections about how to task this incredible invitation to a Caribbean black woman with Nigerian Chinese ancestry to go to Milan, to the center of the heart of Catholic credo, to paint a mural in the topic of the creation. So the challenge was much larger than I could task. So I started this very vigilant discipline to master watercolor. And I saw everybody. I saw everyone that you know that I need to know to see watercolor. I went and look, study. And one of the things interesting about that is watercolor, like etchings, are unforgettable materials. You don't erase watercolor. You don't bring back the white that you lost. It requires certain dexterity and pleasurable understanding of materiality and surface that is quite rigorous. And all of that, these are the beauty, the engagement of the process, no? And I wanted to pair that too. When you need to work with nothing, when you don't have the luxury to go and buy arches, archiva, paper, whatever size you want, with the best watercolors and the best brushes of the world, but you are still dreaming and you are still making art. And this is what my divided heart position itself. And I feel like a personal responsibility to speak of that and to share that and to not allow myself just to serve myself, but to serve others. And because I think that that is what is honorable and that is what is necessary to change where we are. And to also, with a soft touch, eliminating the arrogance that sometimes power exists within itself. That's the answer?
Yes, thank you. I didn't realize that you were making the watercolors as you prepared the fresco. And I thought to myself, as the procession of watercolors unfolded, that each was like a prayer or a meditation. And I could feel the deep care that went in, but also the assertion of presence that watercolor as a material allows. It's like a stain, you know, but the idea of the procession is what I thought of too, which is such a strong part of your performance practice.
I love that. I love that you connect these two scenes. I live in a spirituality. I am not consider myself so much attached to religion, either when I go to church every Sunday that I am available, but I am a spiritual. I live with a ritual every single day. And what I have found as I grew mature, the freedom of being true to your rituals and to not break them and to respond to yourself, because that is the most important knowledge. What you know, what you attend, what you abandon, what you follow, what you do. So I take the gesture of doing watercolor now, but carving before, of performativity in a very profound way of expression of spirituality. Every one of us is a spiritual being. We are a magnificent flock of sins, not yet comprehended until we ended and start into another dimension, no? And that is something absolutely beautiful and paralyzing of the incredible meaning that is what is to be a human. What is to be a human? And when we speak about human rights, we forgot that the most important and fundamental is to acknowledge that is a miracle. It's a simple, single miracle. Each one of us, no exception. And I'm trying to, in the procession, bring the materiality of art making to the people, to make people, the mere presence of people, material. That is what I am using the procession. I remember many, many years ago, the first time that I went to see Chapel 16 and seeing those murals and just crying for a long time and couldn't do anything. And when I think in retrospect of that, I think how important those inscriptions are in that particular moment, no? And then I thinking about in those times, and those times that I found in which humanity is both extraordinary and vulnerable, no? There are conversations out there with the people with the big brain that is thinking about the implication of artificial intelligence, the implication of the world of computation that we have unveiled, what are we going to be in relation to that. And I am I'm born an optimist, so I am thinking that it's going to be all right. That is, everything is going to be all right, but it's almost a necessity for us to rewrite some rules and to rethink some path in a different way and be courageous in this extraordinary opportunity. No? I am thinking many things that I am not saying at the same time. No? I am thinking about vulnerability and a simple vulnerability to be in a place that is dry and suddenly you have the water until your neck. And you didn't expect that, but it's happening. And you learn that next time you move to higher ground. But what that means, what it left us, and what it means for these two populations that I am very curious, the very young that need all of us, and the people after us that are in a different moment of existing and participating of this experience. I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I'm thinking about the way that you activate spaces through procession and through participation of the people and you've just finished a performance in New York that bridged two different parts of New York. And I think it would be interesting to hear more about that.
The Procession of Angels, I was invited to propose a performance in New York City for the 20th anniversary of Art in the Park at Madison Park Conservancy. And what I saw, knowing how beautiful, how Madison Park is, and the glorious surrounding, and the extraordinary maintenance that take place in the park from seasons, all of that. And when Bru Carmine Rapaport asked me, and I say to her, I would be interested to know other parks in New York City. And I am interested to, for instance, I saw to myself, I want to know a park in Harlem. My perception, I have spent a lot of time in New York, and also I have spent a lot of time when people trying to invite me to learn New York from different corners. And what I was thinking about, what is contrasting in New York, when you arrive in New York by plane, it's majestic, no? When you arrive in New York by train, it's majestic. When you arrive in New York by bus, it's majestic. And when you arrive in New York by car, it's majestic. It's like the first image that I have in New York, 1998, I was thinking, my God, they are mountains of concrete. And then you get to the ground, and you get to the pedestrian sides of New York, and you start encountering all kind of scenes, no? All kind of different story. And I was trying to create a balance in that. What story I found in this little corner in Harlem, what story I found in this little corner in Madison, and connected them. So I choose all symbolic scenes. I choose September 7th, a day that we celebrate in Yoruba tradition from Africa, Yemaya, the goddess of the water. And I choose a park that is used by young children and by elderly people, in a corner that is full with a lot of Spanish, Black, immigrants of all sources. And the park have a very little attention to the greenery. And it have a fountain that for 30 years doesn't have a water. So I say, well, this is my role here. I'm going to bring water to the park to this fountain, and I'm going to bring glorious greenery to this park, connecting them two. And taking the city as a canvas, I decided to make a walk. Let's walk. New York is a city that you go to walk in it. No, nobody hired a taxi driver to give you a tour of New York. Most of the time, you walk it because it's glorious. It's a place to walk. So we walk. We walk from Harlem all the way, Fifth Avenue, all the way to Madison. But we stop in places. We stop in a place that is fundamentally Puerto Rican, and it celebrates Puerto Rico and Cuba as a wind, two similar, from a bird, two wings. It's a famous poem about that. We stop in el Museo del Barrio, who had been the place that all Latino people that came to New York find a home when MoMA or Whitney or Guggenheim was not open for them. That was the home for the Latino people. And then I found other places, okay? This is a place that in 2017, 10,000 Black people marched in silence, quietly, to say that they were not agreeing with lynching in the South. And then I found another place in which 1888, a building was totally burned down, and it was an orphanage for Black children. So I was marking the city with important memory of the city, all by brilliant poets. Every place a poet wrote a new poem. And the poem, I was thinking, what is poetry? Poetry is a spiritual energy launching in the air. And we design a perfume, and then we put perfume in the city to clean the air of all bad energies. Imagine, we pass some very difficult areas as you do this traversy to the city. And we end there, and we went to Central Park. The national hero of Cuba, José Martí, was not only a political individual, was the most important innovator for the Spanish language in modernism. He was primarily a poet, a dreamer, an artist who saw everything that he was seeing and say, I need to change this country, and fought for Cuban freedom and Puerto Rico freedom. But it was a point. And I use as avatars in this journey all Cuban American artists that had been important in New York. I'm going to mention a few names that I know that some of you will recognize. Ana Mendieta, Felix González Torres, Reinaldo Arenas, Celia Cruz, and Juan Delgado Calzadilla. Each one of those individuals who I make as a puppet figures to work with us were important individuals transforming the reading and the experience of New York City, because New York City from the air is different than in the ground. So that was the idea of the procession. Now, I want to be sure that this is not a monologue.
Well, no, I want to open up to questions, but I first will say that I'm so excited to see what the students will do in response to you. And I didn't thank Aaron Brophy, who's been working so hard with the students to study your work. He immerses students in artists to the point where, like, my son will go somewhere and say, oh, there's Terrell, that's a great Terrell. And I was like, how'd you know? So he's, I can't wait to see them activate the spaces of this campus in new ways, the way that you will talk with them about in your practice. So we have just a few minutes for questions.
Were you referencing Genesis? Yeah. Okay. Could you talk about that a little bit?
So, thank you for that question. I'm so happy that you saw that, because that is what it is. I was invited for the mural in Milan. I have been invited to create all the murals on Genesis, with the book of Genesis. So I am working with that. I have read the Bible since youth, but I have been very immersed to read it again and to read it again, and then to do interpretations, because I received that letter from Father Andrea del Asta, and I am thinking, do he know that I am black and Yoruba? Because I say, he asking me to think of Genesis, and I found that extraordinarily beautiful. I think, and I want to emphasize that our words, and that may sound like hitting again something in the head, but our similarities, everyone here, are more larger and beautiful. I don't say that this now. I put that in a video piece from 1989. It's called Rite of Initiation. And I said that in these hands, in this map, they are writing all the memories of the difference. But what I did, I cut my finger and a little cut, and somebody white, and we both made a line, and the blood was red. Nobody bled blue. Nobody bled blue. When the chemical component that is blood is exposed to oxygen, is red for every single man or woman that ever put foot in this tiny little island. I don't consider air anymore a planet. I spent a lot of time with Galileo in Padua. I lived there for an entire year and visited just a few weeks ago his post for looking in Milan, in Pinacoteca Brera. I don't allow anybody anymore to call me an immigrant. I am an airlink, like everyone here. I born in Cuba, exactly 90 miles from Florida, before the whole tectonic plate separate what together. Air is a small island in the universe and in this great ocean that is the universe, about what we know as little as we know about our brain. And in my opportunity to speak with great neurologists, they say that from the brain we know out of 100%, possible a 10, more or less. And I think the same of the universe. Air is a little island. And everyone here, the ones that are upside down now, or to the side, or to the other side, belong to this little island. Take a breath at birth and one last breath to continue the journey.
So I had this question before that last response, and now it's even more pertinent. Can you speak a little bit about your view on humans' energy, independent of time and space?
I'm going to answer with something that is personal, but important, like everything. My son said to me, I have a single child, and he said to me for many years, Mom, I have another mother in the space. In the beginning, I was jealous. I was thinking, I am not enough good of a mother, so he found out one in the space. But I read recently in my other cited scenes that we know there is a space, there is a place in our brain that communicate with the universe. I dream my work. Mostly everything that I do, I see it in dreams. And for what we know of dreams, dreams are moments in which we travel in our subconscious. So yes, we communicate all the time from the universe. And we have individuals within us, within ourselves, that could see, perceive more for whatever reason. And I believe in a very modest and intuitive way, just intuitive, that one day we're going to reconsider many things that we called today illness, difficulties, people that we don't understand, people that don't align with our sins. So, but I don't want to get there because I don't want to scare anybody and think it is out of, you know. But that's what I believe. I have been privileged in my small journey to befriend extraordinary people, like nuclear physicists who had been very involved in that CERN research project in Europe, to be in the house, dinner, sleep in the house, talk about scenes. And the proximity of how artists see scenes and how the universe maybe see us is so extraordinary. My friends, the nuclear physicists, were begging me to go to the hall, you know, that you take an elevator 15 minutes to the center, and then you see the particle acceleration. I have claustrophobia. I pass it. But it's amazing. So again, this idea about the air is a little island that we need to stop talking about each other as foreigners. We are not foreigners to this planet. We are not foreigners to this planet. And this comment has political implications. We are not foreigners to this planet. We all are son and daughter of this small village, Earth. And we better care for each other.
Any last, we have one last question, yes.
Thank you so much for your artistic integrity and wisdom, which I'm still processing, to be quite frank. You said something in your presentation about how we need to find a solution for the spirit that is still limping. And I wasn't sure whether you were talking about Cuba or whether you were talking about America at that point, to be honest. I was wondering whether, while you were here, whether it might be possible to collect recycled materials to take to the children in Cuba, and for the children in Cuba to send recycled materials to say to the children here, to get a sense of what the different shared visions of what the world should ought be, because ultimately all art is recycled.
Thank you, thank you. That is so generous and wonderful. Yes, if I want to mention to you, to the audience, that my stipend, I don't know how to call it, my fee for this lecture is going to build this little school that is now dilapidated in Matanzas, every single penny. Not because I am very wealthy, but because they need it. And I feel that is a simple gesture of existing in a way that is responsible. And there are children there that I didn't choose too much of a material. The best thing is for the people that is able one day to come to Cuba. There is a lot of people that I bring to Cuba. And then when you are there, this project, I did it in collaboration with Sheikha Hur Al-Qasimi from Sharjah, who visited Cuba and spent time there. And there are many other aspects of the project that I didn't share. We brought musicians from both parts of the world to encounter each other. And I have a commitment to follow the class, the children that are in this class, until they finish their 12th grade. Because I believe in a very simple way, and I owe that to my beautiful mother, Esterbina Pons Leon, a very brave woman. Do not shy for make your difference, because your difference maybe bring many others to join you. So, you know, when people say, oh, forget how you're going to solve it, it's you yourself. You are solving a lot of things with you yourself. No? So the invitation is every one of us is a portable of a great difference if we take it at heart. And that's what I am trying to do there and here. There and here. I invited a very young poet, 11 years old, Kaiden Heard, to read a poetry in New York. And I'm going to speak in his school next semester. And most likely donate the money to his education. Because I know that that is something that impacts his life forever. I was one abandoned little girl in a town in Matanzas. The name of the town is La Vega. No more than 300 inhabitants. A former slave plantation. And my first room was a former slave barrack. And I was brilliant at birth. But dismissed by birth. It took somebody to see, she could do something. She could be something. And that one, Carmen Lidia Escobar Menendez, is the one that allowed me to be talking to you now. A difference. of one person. I believe in that. Please, let her talk.
The video we just saw was made of what period of time?
How long did it take you to do it?
What, to say that everything that she saw, how much taken, the work with the children in Cuba, I have been working since, it took me like 10 years to convince the people in Cuba that I could do that. Because they say, no, I live in the United States, I don't live there. And then I started in 2019. And the last piece, I started in 2020, when I received the letter from the father from the church asking me to read the scripture, to read Genesis, and to sing in the 6th day of the creation and the day of rest. And so I have enormous amount of notes, reflections, my own contradictions. I have a long conversations in liturgy with the father, because again, I blend cultures, no? I blend cultures. There is another God in Yoruba tradition, and I am not a pagan person. So how do you bring all these things together? And one of the most beautiful things that happened when I was in Milan a few weeks ago, we have lunch with many of the Jesuits priests. Beautiful, beautiful. I can't wait to go back to keep talking with them. And then I have a session in which I invited Milaneses, any people from Milan, to come and sit. And I was painting real time, each of them, because I want to have as many faces I could add into the fresco. So I maybe come back to Sidewell to make portraits of all of you guys and incorporate it in that fresco. But so it taken long time, but sometime I paint, because this is a very special question that you asked, Madame. When I travel with my watercolors and my books, and I paint in hotels. So every hotel that I go, I make a little studio. I did it unconscious, and then my husband started showing me painting in hotels. But it's also to use my time to the best of my capacity. When I left this conversation tonight, I am full of new questions. So I go into the hotel and I start writing and thinking some of the questions, some of the ideas, they come from speaking to you. And what I have seen, Aaron did something beautiful. He had been introducing me today to some numerous students. And every one of the students that I have encountered literally opened for me a new set of questions. And they are smart, super smart. You guys doing an extraordinary job here. And that required, for me, responsible to think, I want to make a book of this experience with them. I want to make a book when the interpretation of my work, because I see my work in a different way through their eyes. And that conversation could be precious. So I want, since I have Mr. Rubenstein and the son and the other member of the family in front, I want to express again my gratitude and my respect for what you guys doing. And to Dorothy and to Aaron and everyone in this institution, involved with this project. It took me a lot of years to be invited to the grade 1 to 12 to come and give this kind of conversation. And I'm going to be talking in my other circuit of conversation about this evening for a long time, because you are setting a model and an example that should be taken as literary, a mandatory form in some way, nothing mandatory because I don't want to, but a form that people could get inspired to advance consciousness of goodness in our society. My partner and myself, our mantra is we are working for radical love. I want to leave you all tonight thinking to yourself and to your community and to your acquaintances, what is radical love and how could you practice? I believe that the four of you here, you are already doing that. What you're doing here, me being here, is your expression of radical love. But I think that every one of us could open that question and try to do it for real in our capacity. So thank you, thank you, thank you for the bottom of my heart and my ancestral line.
Magda, thank you. We're so grateful to you.
Maria Magdalena, that was one of the most beautiful conversations I've ever heard in this space. It was incredibly moving, and I cannot thank you enough for being here with us and for being with our students. I cannot ever remember a more powerful expression of hope. Potentiality is the word that you used. Beauty is a word that you used. It was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for reminding us that the most important thing to do is for humans to take care of humans. Thank you for reminding us that through acts of service is how we change the world for the better, and we can get from where we are to someplace else. I'm absolutely, profoundly grateful for what you did this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank the Rubensteins for making that beauty possible. This is, I think, one of the best events that we've ever had, and you continue to make an impact on the school each and every year. Thank you for making this possible. Friends, thank you for coming. I wonder if we could just, after the matter of friends, I feel like we just experienced something. If we could close with a moment of silence and gratitude for what we were part of this evening. Thank you, friends.